You know, when a global enterprise moves like millions of dollars across borders, we tend to think it just happens with a push of a button, like sending a text.
Right, yeah.
Like it's just instantaneous.
Exactly. But behind that button is this absolute maze of, you know, international regulations, currency conversions, legacy banking systems.
Hmm.
It is, frankly, highly expensive logistics. And figuring out how those logistics actually work and why they cost so much to maintain is our mission today. We're diving into a new private IQ research report on Nium.
Yeah, and Nium is it's a perfect case study in the actual mechanics of moving money at that massive scale. They're essentially acting as the invisible engine for B2B payments and, global card issuance.
And we're talking about huge numbers here, right?
Massive. I mean, they're processing nearly $50 billion in volume across 190 countries, and they're generating about $300.5 million in gross revenue. But their real moat, like their main competitive advantage, is that they've secured over 40 global regulatory licenses.
Oh, wow, 40. Yeah, 40.
Yeah.
So if you're an enterprise client, you don't have to navigate those fragmented local compliance laws yourself. Nium just absorbs that massive regulatory headache for you.
Wait, hold on, though. I'm looking at this $50 billion volume and all those distinct licenses. With that kind of massive scale, shouldn't they just be printing money at this point? Like, why are the economies of scale not kicking in here?
Well, that is the classic growth paradox in fintech. You would naturally assume more volume equals higher margins, right?
Right, that's usually how it works.
Exactly. But scaling this specific financial infrastructure on traditional banking rails is just punishingly expensive. According to the Private IQ report, Nium's fiscal year 2024 net revenue did grow nicely. It hit $124 million.
Okay, so revenue is definitely up.
It is, but their structural processing costs surged by 77%. So those costs hit $68.4 million. Because, traditional banking requires companies to pre-fund local accounts in different countries.
Oh, so they have to just park cash everywhere just in case?
Yeah, exactly. And then they have to pay fees to multiple correspondent banks just to pass the ledger message along, all while absorbing currency volatility.
So the more volume they actually push through those old legacy systems, the more those intermediary fees just completely stack up against them.
Right, and that dynamic is what widened their EBIT losses to $74 million.
Yeah.
It meant that every extra transaction was essentially chewing into their own margins, which actually complicates their path to late 2026 public listing.
Which means if traditional banking rails are inherently that expensive, Nium basically had to build a completely new set of tracks to survive. And I think that explains the sudden pivot we see in the report.
The Web3 expansion, right?
Yeah, exactly. The partnership with Circle in May 2026 for USDC-powered settlement. And then they follow that up with the July 2026 acquisition of the crypto-native wallet Cypher.
And the underlying business logic there is really fascinating because Nium's CEO stresses this is not a consumer crypto story at all.
Right, no meme coins here.
No, exactly. This is strictly a corporate treasury tool. They are deploying stablecoins as this invisible infrastructure layer. It's meant to solve a massive enterprise headache that we call trapped dollars.
Let's actually unpack trapped dollars for a second.
Okay.
Because I think of it like having a freezer full of ice when you're dying of thirst,
That is a great way to look at it.
Yeah, like the value is definitely there. Say you have millions sitting in some foreign subsidiary, but you can't actually drink it until it thaws.
Or in this case, until the correspondent banks finally clear the funds across borders.
Right, which takes days and costs an absolute fortune in fees.
Exactly. So by using stablecoins on the back end, global enterprises bypass that thawing process entirely. They can instantly consolidate their cross-border liquidity.
Without exposing themselves to all that currency friction?
Right. The client just sees fiat money moving instantly. They don't even need to know a blockchain was used to settle it.
And looking at the private IQ metrics, this back-end swap is actually working. The report highlights that Nium achieved its first EBITDA-positive month in July 2025, meaning their core operations finally turned a profit.
Yeah, the integration of those high-margin stablecoin settlement capabilities really structurally improved their unit economics. We also see this reflected in Nium's Smart Score.
Which is private IQ's metric for overall financial health, right?
Correct. And that score rose to a solid 4.0.
Though I do see their alt data score dipped slightly to 3.1.
Yeah, but that minor dip is really just capturing the operational friction you'd naturally expect. When a company scales a global workforce and tries to integrate a new technical acquisition like Cypher into their existing stack, There are growing pains.
Right. That makes total sense. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We started by talking about the hidden, incredibly expensive logistics of global finance.
The plumbing, essentially.
It's exactly the plumbing. But if stablecoins successfully become this invisible, everyday backbone of corporate treasury, you really have to wonder, will traditional banks eventually be forced to rent the very blockchain infrastructure they originally dismissed?